You up?
Good morning. Welcome to this September 16th board meeting. We're a little shallow up here, but I know one of the guys is coming. He'll be here in just a minute, and I'd like to go ahead and get started, though. Call the meeting to order, and then I'm going to ask Craig Slay, would you pray for us?
I'll be glad to. Let's open in prayer. Lord God, thank you for the day that you've given us. Help us, Lord, as we consider the business of the county. We need your presence with us today, your power. Father, thank you for giving these men what they need just for today, Lord, to take care of the business of the county. I pray, Father, that you'll open their eyes to see what is in the best interest of all of our citizens. And I thank you, Lord, that you provide us so abundantly with resources and blessings. Father, you protect us. Father, thank you that we live in a community that's safe. We live in a community, Lord, where we can participate together in our government. We share together, Lord, the freedoms that have been with a high price won for us to come together and to conduct the business of the county and to participate in our government. Those are freedoms that we should always enjoy and never take for granted. Lord, I pray that even today we will be a blessing to those around us and that you will be pleased with how we live out our life in service to you in Christ's name. Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to public comments and recognition, which we've got one on the list. Mr. Hammock, are you here? Mr. Hammock, would you like to come forward and give us your name and address at the podium?
Good morning. My name is David Mitchell Hammock. I reside at 160 The Elms Drive in Florence, Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
I am a volunteer chaplain at Teen Challenge in Georgetown. And I would like to speak to you about the noise ordinance. It's almost to the point of injustice that we suffer the noise in these rural neighborhoods. Continually have to call the deputies and the sheriff's department to come and speak to these individuals. The fact that there is no noise ordinance, we have to suffer the consequences. Personally, I'm looking at taking 8 people to court in my neighborhood for disturbing the peace and harassment and other issues. I just implore the board here to have mercy on us and come up with something that would help us in these rural communities to have some type of consequences for these individuals to keep the people that live in these neighborhoods from having to take these individuals to court. If there was some consequences established for playing these their music loud in their vehicles with these amplifiers and subwoofers,
Yes, sir.
if something was established, some type of consequences, I believe that this could be taken care of.
Okay.
And it would help us tremendously. So that's been on my heart.
Well,
I wanted to come forth, and I know that I've been told that it's hard to regulate a noise ordinance in the county, but why can't there be a noise ordinance established in rural communities? It seems to me that there could be.
Is it? Do you live in a subdivision?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
platted
A
subdivision.
platted subdivision.
Yes, sir.
We will talk with our counsel, our lawyers, and then we've got our people over here and see if, you're the second one in probably a month or so that has had this same issue. Let us get with these people and see if, and of course our law enforcement, we don't want to do something that we can't enforce. But we hear you, and Craig, I'm asking if y'all would put some thought to this and
Especially in a platted subdivision.
in a platted subdivision. Yes, sir. Okay,
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming.
Yes, sir. Thank you for
Thanks,
your
sir.
time. God's blessing on y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
All right, we have old business, old business. We do have, September 3rd and 9th. Is there anything we need to discuss? No, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve September 3rd and September 9th.
All right,
Second.
Brad makes a motion, Sid seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. All right, consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve, Brad. Do I have a
Second.
second? Sid seconds that motion. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I got a question.
Okay.
Imagine that.
How much is Delta?
Well, we're continuing on the tax collector, the tax assessor, it should come on in January.
Okay. Good enough. So that's the only thing on there, those two?
In Chancery, because they intertwine with
Are we gonna be able to get away with that?
the financial, documents. Our financial software is moving over to DSC. October 1.
So January will be full on,
Yes.
okay, all right.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Slade.
Yes, sir. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
This is we do this every year. This is our annual public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 budget. And so at this time, I will open the public hearing and I will ask if there is anyone here to speak on the proposed fiscal year 2025 budget for Rankin County. Anyone here to speak on that matter? Anyone? Gentlemen, I see no one here to speak at the public hearing. We will close that public hearing. You'll be afforded an opportunity to discuss and then to vote on your budget under key section of the agenda. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Pittman.
Good morning. I'm here to ask to advertise for bids for the household, collection of household and hazardous waste on the 26th, tentative dated 10/26 at the Livestock Arena.
Motion to approve.
All right, Jay makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Scott seconds it. Any other discussion?
So it's gonna be held on the 26th of this month?
Of October.
Oh, okay. All right.
10/26.
That's what that means.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Good morning, Mr. Harrison.
Good morning, Board. How are y'all?
Good.
I got road work accomplished for August and road work scheduled for September.
Motion approved.
Jay makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Brad seconds that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I got a request for a center point utility permit for Bragg Street off Highway 471, District 2.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Scott makes a motion. Jay seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Got C on here, talked to a few of y'all, hadn't talked to many of y'all about this, approval about lease agreement on the Pan Southern Ag, parcel, for a staging area and, satellite barn over there on the east side of the county. We just don't have nothing on the east side of the county over there to store. Maintain, we use this property back there in our micro and it worked out pretty good, to get vehicles in and out and didn't disturb a lot of stuff over there.
Is this where potentially we could haul the limbs and stuff that we are going to?
We can put limbs, we can put the gravel, we can store
How
our
much?
contractors.
How much land is available there?
Where we've got, right at, I think it's 5 acres,
Yeah, 4 acres.
plotted off right now, but we've got access.
And 2 buildings.
And 2 buildings, and we actually got more access to more ground than that if we wanted.
So why do we need this?
Trying to get something on the east side of the county, Jay, don't have nothing over there on the east side. I mean,
When they chip seal them, they
Well,
have to
chip
come all the way
sealing
back to
and-
Brandon and get stuff. This past year, they let us, Southern Ag let us use that spot.
Yeah, but $1,000 a month to hold gravel sometimes when you need it, that's a lot of money. For,
$12,000 a year.
yeah, that's $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
which I mean, it'll be a satellite office. I mean, we'll have crews working out of that area.
You said there's a building,
There's 2 buildings, yes, sir.
and
So we're gonna get one in Pisgah next?
They got
We
one.
now
there.
got one at Pisgah.
the county has a whole facility there.
In Pisgah?
Yeah.
How much we pay for it?
Nothing, it's ours.
The county owns it.
All right.
It's been county by the library.
You got one in yours, Jake?
No, I don't have one, man.
You don't?
I'm feeling neglected.
Well,
Neither Scott.
10 acres. You got 10 miles.
Neither Scott does.
I don't think Scott has room for one.
Not that it's not underwater.
Right.
But it was that was more as discussion, and if y'all wanted to, we could approve it, but.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
Let me ask, all right, I've got a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, Sid seconds it. Discussion. I want to know, how many miles is this from the barn or the place we have here in Brandon? How much travel is that?
About 30 miles. Talking about all the way on the east
So
side of the county.
Round trip,
43.
60 miles if they had to come back to the road.
But we can store equipment and stuff there.
Yes, we'll have
Also.
crews and we'll have some equipment working out of that area. Where we've been using
I say
Oak Creek.
try it out 1 year. If it doesn't work out,
All right,
Well, what wouldn't work out though? I mean, how would it fail?
well, I mean, if you don't, I mean, we'll have to vote on it every year because we're doing a year lease on it.
It's got a 30-day termination. I'm pretty confident I've stuck a 30-day termination.
Yes,
There's
sir.
provision in there as well, so you're not locked in beyond, literally beyond a 30-day deal.
We just thought it'd be a savings on
Yeah.
some fuel and stuff, running back
How
and
long?
forth.
and the building is gonna be compatible where you can,
Work on equipment if something breaks down.
It's got a shop, I mean, it's got everything, more area than what we need there, Steve. Or access to more area than we need.
I'll try it for a year. Jay, you can let it.
All right.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay,
Uh,
I think we probably could have found some land for free, but, you know.
The buildings, to me, makes
It's a gated
A good-
entrance so you can shut the gate.
gated entrance. That's, okay.
It stays on the tax rolls. It's privately owned.
All right,
Moving on.
it passed.
All right, I've got, one thing we talked about last board meeting, we can either discuss or add to it. Civil Link, I told y'all I'd bring a price back with you. We can, for $15,000, we can get our plan updated and get us up and rolling for this year. And, if the board wishes, we would add this and approve that.
You're speaking about the road plan.
That's correct.
Gotcha. Okay, I just wanted
And
to-
that's just to get it updated for this year.
So you
Every 4 years, we're supposed to update it.
Right,
New
but
time.
this will be just to get us incompatible where we were supposed, where we need to be at right now.
There's two different things that are happening here. So when we talk about a road plan, that's a specific reference to the code section that requires every Board of Supervisors in the county to have a road plan, and it's spelled out what that is and what the component parts of that. That's one thing. The second thing that you're hearing about is that we have a Civil Link program that goes much farther than what the law requires us to have. We actually have those guys who are professionals come in our roads, and they help us to prioritize those. So it's farther than you have to go with a road plan. It just so happens that what we ask Civil Link to do for us also complies with our responsibility to have a road plan. So I like to always try to remind you guys, we're really talking about two different things, but they both accomplish something very specific that you're required to do.
So right now, we're just doing the 15,000 for them coming out, shooting video in all of our roads.
This is not gonna get you the video, Jay.
It's updated.
Really?
This is just gonna get you, this is gonna prioritize your plan for this year and update where we need to be at. I didn't wanna do the video right now with the work we got to do this year.
So
I'd
what are
rather-
we gonna get from them then? What are we gonna get from them?
Just to prioritize and the different things of the roads, to update the road plan that we didn't get done last year. This won't get us the video, but this is gonna get us the language.
When you say it prioritizes, will it give us some information that, what this road needs?
Yes, sir. It's gonna tell you the pavement preservation that the road needs to be done, and treatment of the road, and what part of the road needs to be done.
And how much is it?
15,000.
We'll prioritize the roads needing the work, 1 to whatever.
1 through 10. We'll get prioritized. So,
All right, we need to add this if that's what we wanna do.
if we're gonna do this, we need to add this to
All
the
right,
agenda.
do I have a motion to add this
So moved.
Civil Link road plan? All right. Scott makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Brad seconds a motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank y'all.
Now we gotta do it. All right.
How y'all's
Do I have a motion to approve with, that motion was to add it to the agenda. Do you have a motion to approve?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
Scott makes a motion.
I second.
Sid seconds a motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Well, yep. It passed.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I would like for the minutes to reflect that you have approved item number 1 of the Civil Link September 3 proposal for planning services. That way the minutes and will refer specifically to the proposal and to the section that has been approved. That's item number 1 on the Civil Link proposal.
Okay.
Sorry, I
Thank
thought I said that.
Yes.
Sorry.
Let's see, Tim.
Morning.
Good morning, Tim.
The first item we have is on, this is an ARPA project, stormwater detention and restoration, hydrologic restoration at Live Oaks, program element number 3.02. We're recommending approval of pay app number 3 from Hodges Land Services in the amount of $172,885.43 and authority to issue the check. That's a District 3 project.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Brad makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Scott seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item B, Mr. President, is on the same project. We're recommending approval of change order number 1 in the amount of an increase of $34,426.81 for additional items required to achieve proper detention and hydrologic restoration on the project. You see the reasons for the change order there. This involves some pipes that need to go in some drainage channels so that for maintenance purposes, once the project is completed, and as well, there's an additional area that needs to be cleared. The total is $34,426.81.
Make a motion to approve.
Brad makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Scott seconds that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item C, Mr. President, is a bridge replacement project. This is Bridge SA 61A055. That's on Gunner Road. We're recommending final payment in the amount of $659,239.40 under purchase order number 242225 to Hemphill Construction, Inc., and authority to issue the check. That's a District 1 bridge.
Make a motion.
Sid makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Brad seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item D, Mr. President, is approval of payout number 1 on the Watershed Protection Program Element 2.02 Pine Brook subdivision from Southeastern Pipeline and Environmental Services for, and we had a typo, it should be $584,250, not $684, $584,250, and authority to issue the check. That's a District 2 project.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Scott makes a motion.
I second.
Sid seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item E, Mr. President, is on our Gunner Road Improvements Phase 2 project. We're recommending approval of contract change order number 2 in the amount of an increase of $11,226 and no cents, and that's to finalize the quantities for the water line relocation portion of that job. So the water line will be closed out, and we can turn that portion back over to Mr. Slay.
What was the total on the water line moving?
It's about, when you include some of the, take out some of the mobilization and maintenance of traffic, it's right at $575,000. It's $574 and some change.
How many fire hydrants y'all, we end up putting on there?
I don't remember. There were some issues with the fire hydrants, some discussions initially that they didn't want any fire hydrants, and honestly, I don't know if we ended up.
I know there was some talk about, didn't want some, and then we was gonna add,
I don't know if we went back
couple.
and added any fire hydrants or not.
Right, okay,
I'll check and let you know that.
yeah.
So now we're done with this, where do we go with our whole lawsuit
Yes, sir.
from,
We go back and ask the court now for a
Gary
hearing
Williams.
date. We've been on pause, Jay, while the county has been required to complete the work. So now that we have a number, now that we have an actual dollar figure, we are gonna go back and ask the court to schedule a hearing date. And my intention would be that we would prepare ourselves to go and to prove up our case and ask the court to award the county the representative pro rata portion of every dollar that we've spent, to define what was the county's responsibility versus what was the Water Association's responsibility. The court, it's gonna be up to the court to determine what is that breakdown of the dollar figure.
But they do have opportunity if they wanna write the county a check for $575.
Well, they're not gonna owe the county the full price, Brad, because there is a portion of the water line
That
that
was in
was
there right away.
located in private right of way,
I
and so
got
we
you.
do have to compensate for that.
Yeah.
But where the dispute is always laid is that the Water Association has taken the position that the county's responsible for all of it, including that portion that was already in public right of way. And we simply don't agree with that. That's not what the law requires, and so the court's gonna have to resolve that unless the parties can achieve some voluntary resolution beforehand. And to this point, we've not had good success getting there.
Okay.
Maybe Sid can help us with that.
Yeah, I'm gonna make some phone calls, say, main thing, I got that number 575, I got something to work with, yeah, negotiate, okay.
All right,
584.
$584,250. I wasn't gonna correct him.
Oh, that's on a different project.
Yeah, that is a different, hey, do I have a motion on this? We're gonna sit here.
I make the motion.
All right, Sid makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Scott seconds that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Item F, Mr. President, our last one is approval of payout number 5 from Hemp Hill Construction Company, Inc. for work performed on the Gunner Rose Phase 2 project in the amount of $158,996.96, and authority to issue that check.
Make a motion.
Sid makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Brad seconds the motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Mr. Slay.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Today, item A is to set a public hearing on October the 7th at 9 a.m. This is for the Michael and Tara Howington Conditional Use Permit, District 4, 517 Parkway Circle. We just need to set that public hearing for that date, please.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we set that public hearing.
Second?
And Scott seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.
Next item, item B, is a public hearing on the Jordan Blissett Conditional Use Permit, 1300 Shiloh Road. This is District 3 property. I'll open that public hearing. Mr. Blissett, or Ms. Blissett, I'm not sure which, is seeking a conditional use permit to construct an 1,800 square foot metal shop with living quarters. It's a 60-acre parcel zoned RE1. RE1 does not allow metal exterior without a conditional use permit. The property is located in what's called Shiloh Rock, a platted subdivision that contains 6 lots. The metal siding is expected to be an ash gray color. Mr. Blissett plans to eventually construct a new residential home on the property that will meet the 2,200 square foot minimum that the restrictive covenants that are in place requires. The shop with the living quarters will then be converted over to a shop that does not have the dwelling portion of the shop. We've received no cause in opposition at the Office of Community Development concerning this matter. This time that public hearing is open. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Jordan Blissett conditional use permit request. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, unless the board has questions of the applicant, do we have any conditions that we're setting on this one in particular? Okay. Gentlemen, I think it'd be appropriate to take action in light of the fact there's no one here questioning. We've received no calls.
All right. I have met and talked with, his name is Blissett.
Yeah.
Mr.
Okay.
Blissett.
Thank you.
And I've seen some renderings and it looks fine to me. And they do plan on building a house and moving the living quarters out where there's not 2 dwellings. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Brad seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? It's passed.
Very good. Next item, Mr. President, under my section is item C. This is the public hearing that has been advertised for today. This is concerning the county's participation and consideration of the county's participation in what is known as the Brandon Heights Tax Increment Financing Plan. And the board is very familiar with the intent of the developers to construct a facility and to do a significant amount of improvement to an area that's located within the city of Brandon next to City Hall. It will include a boutique hotel, some 90 to 100 keys, rooms. It will also include a high-end, upper-end, loft-style apartment dwelling. There'll be a significant amount of retail that's associated with that. The development itself appears to be one that is well received in the development community, the economic development community. It appears to be a need in the county. And so what's come before you is the county's participation in the tax increment financing plan that has been well publicized of the Brandon Heights Tax Increment Financing Plan and the county's participation therein. Is there anyone here to speak to the board on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak on that matter. I know that representatives of the city are present and somewhat, well, Chris, I don't want to, I almost said you were here representing the developer. I think you're just interested on behalf of the city, but your interest with the developer is also aligned, and so.
They're very interested in me.
No doubt. And so at this time, gentlemen, it would be appropriate for us to close that public hearing unless you have questions that need to be answered. I do want to highlight one matter on the ordinance that would be adopted, which is the next section for you to take on the agenda, consideration of and potential action to adopt a resolution. I call it an ordinance resolution. This would reflect in writing the county's participation in the TIP plans should the board choose to do that. So what's before you is that TIP plan itself and that resolution, and it's in your packet. And I want to highlight one section. I want to draw your attention on the second page of the resolution to the section that's labeled Section 4. I'm going to go over that with you. It has been well publicized that this board had its reasons for delaying action on this particular request for the county's participation. That delay was occasioned by the requirement that this board had that the city act on certain matters, which it has now done. A portion of what had to be acted on was some requests being made by the county to develop a parcel of property that's owned by the county. That request was granted to the extent that the city rezoned the property owned by the county so that it is now zoned I-2 heavy industrial, which will allow for the development activity that the county had planned to be able to move forward. There is also a companion requirement under the city's zoning ordinance that a conditional use permit be obtained. Even though the property was rezoned, there is still the requirement of a conditional use. And so the county put forward a conditional use application and included in its application a layout of the property and proposed development activity. That proposal that was put before the city included a number of facilities on the development plan that was presented. Among those is a relocation of the county's current recycling operations that are located on Marquette Road. And that recycling facility was specifically permitted as a function of the county's action on your conditional use application. There are at least 2 other facilities that were also shown on the property to be co-located there, one being a proposed relocation of the county's adoption facilities, pet adoption facilities that are currently on Marquette. Again, these are just plans for the future that were depicted and shown there. A second was a maintenance facility that could be constructed there. Each of those 3 was shown on the property and put forward for action on the conditional use application. The permit that was issued only spoke to the recycling facility, okay? So that may have just simply been an oversight. It could have been accidental. I don't really know. I was not able to attend that hearing where the city acted, but I just wanted to highlight and bring to your attention that it appears that there will be additional responsibility on the part of the county should it wish to proceed with those other 2 facilities on the property, that we will need to again interact with the city and achieve an agreement with the city that the county can locate those facilities on the property. It simply hasn't been acted on to my satisfaction as legal counsel for the county. I don't think we can just move forward without a conditional use permit that speaks specifically about those other facilities. In light of all of that background, I have introduced this Section 4 in your resolution, and I wanted to highlight that for you. So let's read that together. It says, the Board of Supervisors retains the right and the authority to evaluate its participation in the Brandon Heights TIF plan and to make adjustments or revisions thereto until, there's a date where we can't do this, until such time as the city, its agents, or advisors have closed the sale of the tax increment bonds or notes. So there will be a period of time that goes forward now, should this board choose to approve the TIF plan. There will be a period of time that goes forward where the developer is actually constructing all of the improvements that are a part of this TIF plan. That's going to take time. It'll probably take a couple of years, would be my guess. Okay? So until those improvements have actually been constructed, there is no eligibility on the part of this developer to seek a reimbursement for the improvements that are public in nature, that are described in your plan. streets, water lines, sewer facilities, retention facilities, walking trails, that any number of what are considered to be public improvements, that's what that's what that developer is eligible to be reimbursed. The sale of the bonds won't even be on the drawing board until such time as the developer has made substantial enough improvements to trigger eligibility for reimbursement. So there'll be some time where I think we can sort out these questions that we may have that still linger about the county's ability to develop our acreage. We can sort that out, but I just wanted to highlight that we have reserved in your approval today the ability to go back and revisit this if at some point it becomes clear to this board, or any board, that we may have issues that still remain. I just wanted to highlight that. All of this has been presented to the developer for them to review and to understand. And so I just wanted to make sure that they probably prefer that this not be here, but I think we all know why it's here. And so I wanted to highlight that and bring that to your attention before you guys act on this.
Well, can I ask, hey, Sam, I mean, you can come up for a minute. I mean, what Craig just said, does the
So-
city of Brandon have the issue with?
No, sir.
Okay.
There's no issues. The only thing that required a conditional use was the recycling facility. So you're permitted to move forward with the whole project.
So the animal shelters,
You're good. And I could send it to you in writing if you prefer it.
can you send it to Craig?
Yes, sir. I can do that.
I'd actually like for it to be in the resolution itself, so they may need to revisit that resolution, amend that resolution, and they can adopt a secondary resolution, but I'd like for it to be in the city's minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Not a problem?
I don't have, I could probably get in there today. I mean,
Okay.
reopen it.
All right.
So, this evening.
Well, we need to go ahead and take action on the TIF
And
today.
what needs to happen today, Brad, is you can adopt the resolution that's been put before you today with a contingency that Section 4 can be removed if, prior to its execution, we have satisfied everything that I think is necessary to firmly document that the county's plan to develop the acreage will proceed as reflected in the application.
Okay. That'd be my motion to approve.
All right. Brad makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Scott seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
To the extent that I didn't close the hearing, it's closed
Vote.
now.
All right?
Very good.
I guess that will cover D also.
Yes, sir. So Brad's motion was with respect to item D, Mr. President, and so I think if the board has voted and acted on D with that contingency that was described, we can move on to item E now.
Okay.
Item E, gentlemen, is authority for the tax collector. This is something that we do frequently. It assists the tax collector with a recurring issue that we see. And so it allows for a streamlining of a process that becomes necessary. This has to do with situations where the tax collector finds out after the fact, typically, that property has been assessed with a mobile home that is located on the property. That improvement is captured as a part of the ad valorem assessment work associated with the parcel. And the mobile home is no longer treated as a separate item of personal property. And so there's a mechanism for that to happen under the law. Occasionally, we'll have situations where the mobile home has been converted from personal property to real property, but then the unit is either removed from the property or is destroyed or is replaced. And there is the issue that it is continually being assessed as an item of real property when it should not be. That we become aware of that situation, and this allows for us in a short-circuiting way to take care of each of those. The tax collector provides a list that is appended to your action here, along with PPINs and owner names and addresses and tax years, that allows for any assessment that occurred after the trailer was gone for whatever reason to be corrected as originally an erroneous assessment and now a corrected assessment. That's what you're doing.
All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll
Make a
make
motion.
Brad makes a motion to approve. Who?
I second.
Sid seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Hey, Craig,
Any opposed? Motion passed.
I'm sorry. Hey, back up one section. I'm sorry about this, guys, but from what my understanding was on the City of Brandon's approval on the conditional use, that when it got rezoned, the rezoning side of it allowed for the animal shelter. It wouldn't have to be a conditional use,
Yes, sir.
but you're not satisfied with.
I'm unclear in looking at the city zoning ordinance. I'm unclear how it is determined on the front end, what should be subject to a conditional use versus what should not.
And the only thing we are I guess what they were unsure was the recycling facility
Yes,
itself.
correct.
The animal shelter wasn't something that they were
None-
opposed to, but
Yes.
it's allowed in their zoning.
And I'm good with that, as long as I can see that in writing and in the resolution, that the city's position is either an animal shelter and a maintenance facility does require a conditional use, and that conditional use is granted, or the city's position is neither of those requires a conditional use, and therefore there is no need for a conditional use permit. It is simply outright allowed in I-2. As long as I see that
Okay,
in writing,
you can make that
we
happen.
can move on.
All right.
All right?
Thank
And by the way, I'm good with that coming from legal counsel in the form of a letter. All right? It doesn't have to, I'll probably
You don't have to take
require
no
Mark to
action.
put it back through y'all's minutes. This is a various document in the minutes. I want the board to say, yeah, we're good with that, right? Okay. We need to bind both boards here. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Calhoun, for bringing that up for clarification. Item F, gentlemen, is an adoption of a resolution that would provide for the county to participate in a local matching responsibility not to exceed 30%. This is for a water line project, not that the county would undertake that responsibility, but simply serve as the flow between of grant monies that would come through federal programs for which the county would be eligible, that would incentivize local water associations to go in and make water line improvements in the rural part of Rankin County, Mr. Calhoun's district, that would serve a number of residents who currently do not reside within a certificated area of a water line association and have no access to public water. So the county's participation would be capped at 30%. The county would require that the match, and your motion requires that any matching funds would be provided by an appropriation from the state legislature. If that cannot happen, does not happen, the county's responsibility under this document, under this minute entry, would not be triggered. I just need a motion to
Y'all
approve
good with
that.
that?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Brad makes a motion to approve. Scott seconds that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Gentlemen, item G has been kind of a long time in coming. This is District 4 property. Mr. Gaines, you may recall, this is out near Pisgah. This is a road that is a private road where there is a proposal, it's air property, and there was a proposal to subdivide that property. As our normal process requires, Mr. Gaines, we met with the property owners, the ones who were wanting to buy some property and subdivide it out from an heir. We met with them and we indicated that there would be a requirement for a set of restrictive covenants that prohibited further subdividing, because all of the parcels to be developed would be accessed via a private drive. And so we asked for restrictive covenants to be executed. There were about 4 or 5 individuals that had to be a part of that process. One property owner refused to execute the restrictive covenants. And so the property sat undivided, undeveloped,
and nobody could move forward because there was no agreement among the property owners concerning the county's requirement for the restrictive covenants. And so I thought the matter had just been dropped. It turns out that one of the property owners decided to sue the one that didn't want to participate, and has achieved a judgment from the Chancery Court. Judge Roberts has executed a judgment that requires the Chancery Clerk to execute the restrictive covenants on behalf of the objecting property owner. So our Chancery Clerk has done that.
So does this mean that they got the agreements they usually make and upkeeping of their drive and all that?
Yes, sir. No further subdividing without county authorization. You can't backdoor county maintenance by running to the school district and making that private drive, the school bus turn around. There's all manner, it's our standard restrictive covenants that we've used for a number of years now. And it has been effective in helping us to stay on top of, challenges that come around when we see a lot of subdividing activity where there is no public road access. So the Chancery Clerk has executed the restrictive covenants. Those restrictive covenants now are eligible to be recorded in the land records along with the judgment. And so what we're asking for is authorization of our board president to execute the restrictive covenants where indicated, and to have the restrictive covenants filed of record and communicate that back to all of the property owners.
All right, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Brad seconds that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Very good, thank you. Item H, Mr. President, that is where we are, right?
Yes, sir.
Authorization for the board president to execute a mutual aid agreement. This is between the county and the 172nd Airlift Wing, U.S. Air Force, for emergency fire response activities. We see these from time to time. Mr. Grantham's here. You want to quickly get him up to speed? Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So if you recall, about a little over a month ago, we had an 18-wheeler catch on fire that was carrying sheets of rubber near the Pelahatchie exit. That is not something that's very easily put out with water, especially being on the interstate. So we made the phone call to the airlift wing to get some firefighting equipment that is specifically for that type of fire. They granted it. They came out there. They assisted us. We had it out within a few hours. Basically, this just is a mutual aid agreement that puts it in writing that it's okay for them. When we call them for help, they come help us. Likewise, we would do the same for them. So they just asked, their JAG wrote up this agreement. I sent it over to Mr. Slade for his blessing and everything, and it allows us to call on them when needed for very specific things like that. So.
Each party bears their own cost responsibility out of that, so I think we're all well covered.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second.
Scott seconds that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed.
President, the last item under my section is a discussion of and potential action to adopt an update to our TIF policy that I want to walk the board through. This update, we routinely will look at our TIF policy from time to time. We'll look at it and just make sure that it is in keeping with what each Board of Supervisors, as their terms cycle, each of you guys are given an opportunity to speak on this issue. I want to walk you through it, if I may. Typically, we have seen in the past a minimum amount of capital investment that is required before it will trigger eligibility for county participation in the TIF. Let me make this abundantly clear to anybody that may be interested in the county's TIF policy, that there are, under a tax increment financing plan, I have yet to see one that originates in a unincorporated county situation. Chris, can they even do that? Is that a municipal? I've never seen one.
It can be done based solely on having one tax increment, but it's unusual.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. So the likelihood that we'll ever see one that's a county-only deal is next to nothing, okay? These, typically they originate within a municipal context. That's where these developments will typically locate. They go where the population centers are, where the traffic counts make sense, where the property values can actually support
the tax increment, right? So cities are gonna always have eligibility to act on it under their own arrangement. The issue is, when will the county participate in that versus just the city doing it? And so you have requirements of developers before you ever even pick up your pencil to decide whether or not you want to evaluate a particular TIF proposal. So minimum of $30 million in capital improvements, okay? That's number one. Number two, you have a job requirement. You may not remember that. The project must create a significant number of jobs, of which over 50% are new hires from within Rankin County and our surrounding communities, okay? Upon completion of the project, the resulting increase in the assessed value of the subject property must be a significant increase above pre-development value. It's a standard provision. We've kept it in there for a long time now. Total monetary participation by the Board of Supervisors will not exceed that of the municipalities. That's a way for you to say, we're in for our share, we're not gonna pay more than the municipalities are, right? So you have that requirement. Development must be an inducement to attract other nearby developments. That's one of the things you're looking for. Will this likely attract additional development in the community in that area? This is important. Road and bridge millage and bridge and culvert millage will typically be excluded from TIF plans. Millage assigned to Hines Community College will typically be excluded from TIF plans. That's where the board has been consistently for at least a couple of cycles now. And so that is in your current policy. Making sure that we want to keep that in there. Board of Supervisors the pledge of the Board of Supervisors will typically not exceed 50% of the county's millage. We're in for half of the millage, okay? And so that will be based on a not to exceed dollar amount that's generated by the necessary millage rate to service the debt on the TIF bonds. I want to make that clear. That's still in your policy. Exclude road and bridge, you exclude bridge and culvert, you exclude all Hines Community College affiliated millage, and you're in for half, 50%, okay? Supervisors reserve the right to deviate from the policy for the developments that are situated in areas of the county that are considered by the board to be underdeveloped. You may want to spur activity by deviating from your policy requirements if the facts and circumstances justify looking at a deviation based on where the development may be located and what impact it could possibly have, okay? That's a standing provision, by the way. It's been in your policy from day one. It goes all the way back to 2008. Number 9, this is important. It may take a little bit of an explanation. This is an added policy requirement. The TIF plan must include the following statement in order for the TIF plan to be considered. Quote, the tax increments, city and county, qualified and set out in the developer's plan as of the date of adoption of the TIF plan by the county shall remain the operative tax increments recognized by the parties for debt service calculations. Okay? Whatever the increment is that was put out in the TIF plan, that's what we're going to be looking at for determining what is the county's participation going to look like. No, we don't want wild adjustments in pro forma calculations of the increment to occur after you've adopted your TIF plan, okay? Everybody's gonna play by the same level playing field with exactly what's set out in the TIF plan. That's important. However, notwithstanding any other provision hereof to the contrary, the tax assessor shall retain the right and the authority to assess for ad valorem tax purposes the property located within the TIF district or any amendment of the TIF district in accordance with standard assessment practices or methodology for purposes of the TIF plan and for the assessment of the real property located within the defined TIF district. The assessor can use a commercial value,
as if the property is zoned commercial. That will be the assessment methodology used by the tax assessor in the TIF plan. What does all that gobbledygook mean? What it means is this: doesn't matter what is zoned when they present the TIF plan to us. Once this board adopts a TIF plan and the district is defined, all of the property inside that TIF district is going to be assessed from that moment as if it's commercial. What does that help us with? It helps us with a situation where the developer wants there to be a significant distinction in the tax increment when the TIF plan is presented and a tax increment once the improvements are built. They want that to be as big a number as possible, right? Problem is, that big number is motivated by the fact that inside that TIF district, you got a lot of ag property that's sitting there and has a very low assessment on it. Once that TIF district is constructed and activity starts, the developer can sell property within that TIF district. And invariably, those sales are not sales of ag property. Those typically are sales of commercial property. So we need to be assessing it for what it's being used as. It's being made available as a commercial development. Otherwise, it's not going to be a TIF. So we just want to make sure that it's clear to everybody on the front end. When the board defines the TIF district, because that's what the plan does, that property inside that district, we're going to use the increment. We're not going to mess with the increment. The increment will be what it is at the time of the adoption of the TIF plan. That making sense, Chris? But as soon as that district is set, assessor needs to consider what is the value of everything in that district, and we're going to start with a commercial assessment on there. He's making all the developers aware of that. Your tax bill's going up.
Okay.
So that would be a formalized part of your policy. It's not currently in your policy, so we want to make that a formalized part of your policy. We met with the assessor staff, and they are endorsing this change. In fact, we worked closely with the assessor staff to make sure we had the language like we felt like we needed it.
So, you know, we did, we varied from our policy down in Richland. We're not gonna make that anything in.
The supervisors reserve the right to deviate from this policy for developments that are situated in underdeveloped areas of the county. No offense to Richland, but there's not a lot of TIFs down there. So we would consider that to be, for purposes of TIF plans, we would consider that to be an underdeveloped area for TIF targets. Right? This board may want to spur some development activity there. And so your policy allows you to look beyond your specific requirements if it makes sense. You may want to do one this, instead of $30 million in capital improvement, maybe it's $25 million.
Shoot, I think it needs to go up now as much as everything costs. But,
Yeah, I don't think 30 million is asking too much, honestly, for us to be a part of something that has a lot of bells and whistles to it. Keep in mind, TIFs don't run themselves. There is a entanglement with our staff. We have to keep up with that. The assessor has to deal with a defined district. The collector has to receive and remit. And so there's very real activity. The Chancery Clerk's office has to be heavily involved in assisting us in policing TIFs. So it makes sense for us to not just hand those out. It needs to be a significant capital investment. And, you know, let's talk quickly. Rankin County is an attractive place for developers to come and develop. It's attractive. You know why? Because we make sure that everybody's safe. We make sure the schools are running good. We make sure that there's a high quality of life. We're careful about our zoning and planning. It all costs money to provide all that service. That whole thing has been put together on the backs of taxpayers, me and you, who have contributed heavily to see to it that our community is an attractive place. So when developers come and want to help themselves to that attractive community, they need to pay for it. That's what your policy is, an attempt to make sure happens.
All right, we've heard a lot. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, Scott makes a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Brad seconds that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Mr. President, just to be clear, that policy revision that you just adopted will be made effective as of this October 1
Yeah.
to coincide with our fiscal year. And so we'll get this updated, and I hope we can get it on our website so that everybody is able to see what your requirements are. We'll try to get it publicized as best we can.
All right, that, I passed. I didn't cover that. Mr. Hicks, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. Item A is approval to adopt the fiscal '25 budget in the amount of $257,569,359.
All right. We have worked on this for several months, so I don't see that there's a whole lot that, I do not want to change it. Do I have a motion to approve? I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second the motion.
Brad seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passed.
Item B is authority to publish the fiscal year '25 combined budget.
All right.
Motion approved.
Second.
Brad makes a motion to approve. Scott seconds that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. Item C is authority to adopt and publish the fiscal year '25 tax levy of 41.74 mills, which is a 0 mill increase over last year, and the 55.78 mills for the school district, Rankin County School District, which is also a 0 mill increase. So no change in the tax levy.
Do I have a motion? I'll make the motion to approve. Jay just seconds that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Item D is authorization for the president to execute the MOA between Rankin County and DOT, or Transportation Commission. And this is for the overlay of Old US 49, and it's from Cleary Road to Old 49.
I make a motion.
Sid makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Scott seconds that motion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right. And then item E, you should have a handout, a bid tab on your desk somewhere there. This is for the replacement of the Justice Center chiller. Bids actually came in fairly well. We're recommending that we go with Upchurch Services for the replacement of the chiller, the amount of $204,900.
And that will update the cooling
That'll
system
replace the cooling system.
that's been giving us problems.
it gonna take to install?
The install is gonna be less than a week. It's getting the chiller here, made, and here is gonna be probably 10 to 12 weeks.
Okay.
Have we used them before?
I don't think we.
Upchurch Services, we
Yeah.
use them occasionally around the county. We know they're,
This is the first chiller we've had to buy.
let me rephrase that. I think we're shooting for sometime in February to do the install, because we kind of made it to where it's gonna be in the dead of winter, so they're not without air conditioning.
Yeah.
I make a motion.
Second.
Sid makes a motion to approve. Scott seconds the motion. Any other discussion?
But it's working over there now, it's just,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Yes, sir. It has its ups and downs.
Ups and downs.
Limping along.
It's 26 years old.
Flip the breaker every once in a
All right. All in favor?
while.
Motion passes.
Oh, yes.
Do you have anything else, Mr.?
I don't.
Mr. President, we were
Additional
anticipating
business?
additional business. Yes, I don't have any additional business. I don't.
I don't have
We
any
do.
additional business.
We do have a
talk about
need
executive. Yes,
For
sir.
executive, all right, do I have a motion? Well,
Make a motion, discuss the need for executive session.
Second.
All right, Jay makes a motion to discuss the need for executive session. Scott seconds that motion. All in favor? Aye. All right, now then, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Litigation, property acquisition, potential economic development activity that's triggered under the executive session.
All right, do I have a motion to make executive session for those three areas?
Yeah.
Sid makes the motion.
Second.
Scott seconds the motion. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes.